Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending. My name's Stephen Day. I'm one of the account reps here at FileMaker. I'm excited to introduce Nicholas Martineau with Frontiva for this solution bundle spotlight. I'm going to spend a few minutes chatting about who FileMaker is and where we fit. Then we'll have Nicholas go into the solution. But before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. If you have any tech issues, please call Citrix at 888-259-8414. We'll also take some questions towards the end, and we'll go through as many of these as we can, depending on time. Please use the control panel and enter your questions there. So, as you know, FileMaker is an Apple subsidiary and is a platform where solutions are available on the iPad, iPhone, Windows, Mac, and the web. FileMaker has delivered over 20 million units of FileMaker and is shipped in 17 languages to organizations of all sizes. So every business has goals to meet in order to stay up and running. And to accomplish these goals, there are specific tasks you and your team must do. Tasks might include project tracking, customer management, inventory, and so many other tasks that you are doing today. But do you have the efficiency you need? And is everyone in your team spending their time in productive activities working towards their goals? In talking to thousands of companies, we have found that too often than not, teams end up spending time in unproductive and inefficient activities that make it more difficult to reach your goals. Many organizations operate using paper forms, different types of files and formats, spreadsheets, and applications that just don't connect to each other. In fact, according to one survey, employees at small and mid-sized firms spend about 50%, that's 50% of their workday, engaged in unproductive but necessary activities. So how does operating this way cause productivity drains on your team? One challenge we hear very frequently is scattered information. It's literally everywhere, in multiple applications, in notebooks, and spreadsheets, on someone's iPad. But wherever it is, it never seems to be where it needs to be. And in fact, according to the Paperless Project, US managers spend an average of 4 weeks a year searching for or waiting for misfiled, untracked, or lost papers. That's like taking 1 month out of the calendar and throwing it away. Another challenge that we hear from businesses is inefficient and ad hoc processes that slow down your team. And this can lead to costly errors. And despite people's best intentions, these errors can lead to damaging consequences. In fact, there's an article from the LinkedIn Records Management Professionals Group that says that 67% of data loss is directly related to user blunders. It's 67%. Technology could help you conquer some of these challenges, but organizations like yours have a surprisingly difficult time finding technology that fits their exact needs. With that said, I'd like to introduce Nicholas Martineau. His company is Solutions Direct with his solution Frontiva. He's in business for over 20 years. He's a member of the FileMaker Business Alliance, and he's had his product now on its 5th version. So with that, I'd like to introduce Nicholas. Nicholas, are you there?
Yes. Thank you, Stephen. Yes, I'm there.
Perfect.
Hey, Stephen, I'd like to introduce Carl first. He's a graphic designer, over 20 years experience, and he uses Frontiva every day now. But he'd like to share what was its experience before Frontiva. And just to let you know, he's based in Ottawa, Canada. He has amazing branding and advertising studio. And right now he's on cell phone on the road. Are you there, Carl?
I sure am. Thanks for the invite. I think that Nicolas has asked me to share with you guys the pain I was going through, and 10 years ago or so, before that, I was basically using Excel for basically putting all the jobs in order, and my client list is also in Excel, and then my contacts were using the Mac softwares, and then I had all my pretty proposals I was putting together, writing every proposal hand by hand in Quark Express or InDesign or something like that. And then after the job was done and tracking this through Excel, I was designing invoices using InDesign. So there was multiple platforms, and that was very inefficient, but organized but inefficient, and it took a lot of time to produce all this. And as the intro was saying, 50% of my time was basically trying to manage the company, not being creative. So that was before Frontiva, and I think that's one of the biggest things that Frontiva brought to us at Cayenne is the capabilities of putting all that powerful information under one roof, under one tool that could do all that management for us. So that was key. We also, on top of what we weren't able to do before, is all the time tracking and all the tracking of all the reports that Frontiva does for us. That data was not accessible to us. So it was key for us to find a solution. And we went through all the multiple variations. And now today, Frontiva has a powerful product that changed the way I do business, and for the best, obviously. And it helps me be what I'm good at, which is a designer and being creative, and take all the min out of the tasks of every day, and concentrate on what I'm really good at, and let the tools do the powerful heavy lifting. So when it comes to project management, being efficient, and when it comes to putting things together, Frontiva and FileMaker have been a huge catalyst to my business. So obviously, it's something I would recommend for every business in our industry. It's worth the expense.
Thank you,
Back
Carl.
to you, Nicolas.
Thank you, Carl.
Right.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey, I'd like thank you, Carl, and thank you, Stephen. I'd like to start with a quote from the song "The Birds." There is a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to gain, a time to lose. So why does it seem we're always running out of it? Maybe because we spend so much time managing it, searching for documents, managing the team, do the billing. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you how to gain time by losing this organization. So as Carl said from Cayenne, he was looking for software and he found in Frontiva the solution to streamline his project and save time too. So today I would like to show you how Frontiva helped him. And by the way, right now Frontiva is installed on my machine, but that can be installed on your server or on our server. So first thing first, and by the way, if you have any questions during the webinar, don't hesitate to send it to Stephen. He's going to be able to ask them during the webinar or after. So let's open Frontiva. Frontiva is built with FileMaker technology, enables you to work on Mac, PC, network, iPhone, iPad. So let's click our name in the list here, and I'm going to enter password. Every user has security and may have different permission and accesses. Carl had some problems connecting all his quotes to project and billing. In Frontiva, it's very, very easy. All the features are integrated together. First, you have the contact book. I'm going to create a contact in a few seconds. Then you have the project, the quotes, planning, up to the billing right there. And then you get reports that you can get on the fly, and you get time tracking. We designed Frontiva so it can be very easy to use and intuitive. And FileMaker is a great technology to have a really rich interface. So let's create a new client. So from the contact book, I got all my contacts, including all my clients, suppliers, and I'm going to create a new organization. So here I'm going to create Sony Corporation. Perfect. And I'm going to click it as a client, technology, next. And here you can drag and drop some items, like I prepared some logo. So I have the file right now of Sony that I'm going to add some contact person in it. And just so it can be easy to type, I'm going to activate some shortcuts, a little tool to help me type faster. So first person is going to be Mark Smith, and that guy is in marketing at Sony. And I even put some images. So as you see, it's very, very easy to use. So we got Mark here. Mark has the file, mark at sony.com. So we met Mark at the golf club. I'm going to add some notes to that contact file. So I met Mark at the golf. He's a great guy. He mentioned he would like to meet us to do a presentation. So this is history. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new note for callback. So we're going to call him back when he's back from Hawaii from vacation. He's going to be here about 2 weeks, so let's call him at the end of the month. So that note's going to be an alert in our calendar for Vincent in 2 weeks. But my designer might like to have some more details. For example, every time we work with Sony, we may use Pantone 297 for the color, and like don't forget let's say FTP access, and all the detail is going to be history, plus it's a sticky, so it's going to be always on top of our mind. Every time a designer would like to have that info, is going to go in the Sony file and have all the details. Talking about all those details, you can add documents, and these documents could be, for example, Sony guidelines. So I'm working with Sony, and my designer, when they have access, they'd like to see, yeah, that document, yeah, that PDF, what was the guideline? And now they know exactly how to use the logo. All the information is there and shared across all my team. We have a module for sales and prospect. I won't show it today, but it's kind of a Salesforce tool, and we want Frontiva to integrate every part of the business. So that's why we integrated there. But I'm not going to show it today, but it could be one-on-one demo for this part. So Sony, we're going to create a new project, a quote for Sony. So I'm going to go back in the home page. I'm going to go in project area. And in this part, I can see all the active projects. And each project has specific phases. And Carl from Cayenne actually customized all these phases to match his business. So you can see exactly what's in what we just created, what's waiting to prove, production, on hold, and all these steps. This is all projects. And you can have an overview of, okay, I got this amount, 27,000 production, I got this on hold, this I need to invoice, and this is what I invoice this month. So let's create a new quote for Sony. So I'm going to create here a project with Sony. I could do a whole campaign or a single project. And my project here is going to be new brochure and logo. I'm going to do this as a print, create. We now have the project created, which is 15-5000, which could be adapted to different business numbering. And this part here, we may say, what we're going to do, we will create amazing brochure and logo for new video game. We look forward to working with you. And I may add some internal notes, like check last year project. Maybe we could find some information to make the project more efficient. So everything's centralized and shared across the team. Talking about that, a lot of clients have asked us how to deal with documents. And here's one area where Carl can save a lot of time. No more searching for documents. Everything can be right there. So they can add documents. For example, it's a brief in Word document. I'm just going to drag it there, and now the document is there. I can access it, it's shared. And some people just love to have documents in their own directories or shared network. You just click here and we do a link with their existing network. And project manager may add images in the thumbnail later. When the project is done, they may say, oh yeah, remember that brochure? That looked like that, so it's easy to find and kind of more convenient to get more the information. Project item, this is where Carl really saved time, because Carl did templates. So every time he does, let's say, a brochure, and he knows he needs design and pre-press, so he's going to add this, so graphic design, pre-press, and there's already the hourly rate of Sony. So all the project managers know the hourly rate for Sony, or the rate cards for Sony is this. So let's say we're going to do, it's going to take about 20 hours. Pricing is here. Frontiva says maybe you should sell that for 1700. So I'm going to put 1695. And the pre-press, instead of just putting hours, I may just put a price like this, $500. So now our selling price, $21.95. Frontiva can really be customized to different type of business. This is an example for graphic design, like the way Carl used it. And when we want to print a quote, this is really fun, because now we can say, okay, I'd like to print a quote. And what we have on screen is a quote, a template, and they can have multiple branding for their printouts. And using FileMaker amazing features, they can just, move things around, create a template, very, very nice with all their font, colors, and they're going to do really a nice branding. So back to the project. Mark from Sony called and asked to add printing to our project. So we're going to use printing here. And we may even change the name, let's say printing for a brochure. If we know the price of the outside cost, we say, okay, it's going to be 10,000, markup, let's say 25. We're going to sell this back to 1250, so 12,500. And I could change the price to leave it like that. So my project now is this. I could add description with all the specification. Talking about specification, I won't show this today, but it could be a one-in-one demo. But we all have the specification. I want to print, with this quantity, that much size, full bleed, or whatever specification, and ask many suppliers for a quote. And then it goes back to the project. And that kind of gives us history. But this I could show later one-to-one. So Mark got the quote. He says, I love it. Let's do the project. So we're going to go here and change the project to production. Now it's in production. We see we get 20 hours to do the job. It's now in production. There could be some alerts, things like that. And we're going to do time tracking. There's either some classic ways to do time tracking. Either I'm going to use that interface, or what I could do, let's say our designer is meeting a client at Starbucks, and he had a great meeting. Just after the meeting, what he does, he opens his iOS device, let's say his iPhone. So he's going to look for the project. Okay, yeah, graphic design here, corporate. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to add 2 hours. So it's very easy. Now we see we got 2 hours, Wednesday, today. We close back his application, and the time's going to go in our project. Now we get 2 hours out of 20. And obviously, if it goes over time, we're going to have different colors and different alerts. What I'd like to show you is that we've been 2 hours, done 2 hours, we estimate 20, we got 18, and we know the pre-press haven't started yet. So everything's good, but that gives tool to project managers to save money. and control their project and be organized. And the summary obviously will tell us different areas about the costing, and right now I haven't put all the details in the demo, but you could put hourly rate, and these are going to be reflected to the cost and so on. So everything's very integrated, and that's the key from time tracking to project management. And by the way, talking about project management, there's a great tool that we have is the production calendar, and that's going to be able to show different tasks. And we have the calendar, Gantt chart, timeline, and this is all information that's going to be able to use. So our staff going to have a full view. Carl used to use kind of a whiteboards, and these whiteboards would fill the wall. Now we can use Frontiva, so when you update something in calendar, it goes back to Frontiva and back and forth. When we are dealing with cost, expense, we may use here supplier invoice. So Carl's assistant had an invoice, and the cost, you just have to click here and say, okay, this is from the supplier, add an invoice, it's today's date, and it's going to be, let's say, instead of 10,000, it's going to be 95. So it goes back here and goes in our actual costs. So we can compare and track not just time, but all outside costs at the same time with the project. And it can right away how much the project costs and find out if there's a problem. Carl had problems switching from different software all the time. So no more Excel spreadsheets. You can do everything in a single software, from quote to expense tracking and time tracking. So finally, billing. And don't skip this part. This is very, very essential if you want to get your business running, because the billing is obviously very, very important in every business. So we have here our new brochure from Sony in production, 2 hours. And either you put this project into invoice, which is going to go inside up to invoicing, create an invoice, yes, and we can either do partial invoice, do %, or send the whole thing to invoice. So so just with one click, everything's been sent to invoice. You can view, print the invoice with your specific template. It's very, very easy. Carl used to bill with Excel, and I think he used to print using InDesign. So now he's doing the same process, but much, much, much faster. So this saves time, and you get all the details because you can either invoice the quote or the actual cost. And later on, client payments can be added, have a bit of tracking of cash flow. So I'm going to go back to homepage. I know we just did a very, very quick overview of the software. But in conclusion, we provide off-the-shelf solution like Frontiva, and can be adaptable for small and large organizations. So every day we create better ways to solve problems. For right now, 15 years now, we're using FileMaker, and Frontiva helped Carl and many more business like him to save time and money. So remember, for every time there's a purpose, and the purpose of this time is to save time, getting more profits, and be organized. And I'll be more than happy to answer your questions and set up a one-to-one presentation with you. Stephen, it's up to you.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Nicholas, for that demo. And if Carl's still online, thank you for his time. Nicholas, you definitely highlighted some valid points about avoiding some duplicate entry and how that's going to make an impact on people's businesses. And also definitely showing that little piece on mobile device. And I think that's one of our first questions, actually. So I'm going to open up some questions and questions right now. One of the first questions was, can I use the iPad or iPhone to follow up notes on contacts and clients? And I think you showed a little bit of this. Do you want to explain how this works, Nicholas?
Yeah, absolutely. We're using FileMaker Go, which is an amazing product from FileMaker, and enables to create a rich interface for iPad, iPhone. So you could do all your kind of sales tracking and client follow-up using iOS device, and follow up contacts, prospect, and suppliers, and add notes to them, like we've done today with what you've seen on screen. But you could do the same thing using iPhone and iPad. This is very, very easy, and the same, what you're entering in these devices is going to go directly in Frontiva at the office. So it's linked together.
Thank you. Here's a fresh question direct from Mark. He's asking, do contacts import from Microsoft Office? And I guess this could be generalized. Can you import contacts from what other sources?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we understand this is a time saver tool. So you don't want to re-enter all these data. Then that's one thing we do when we start a project. We kind of have different steps. And one of these is we gather everything contact you have, either address book or whatever, in your case, Office, and we can import these data very, very easily in Frontiva.
Perfect. Here's a question from Doug. What kind of calendar do you have integrated into the solution? Is it HTML-based or is it FileMaker-based? How does it work?
Oh, very, very good question. We did change a few times calendar because we want to have something very, very efficient and very intuitive. We did many custom integration with Google Calendar. We did iCal Calendar, and in the case of Frontiva built-in calendar, this is a web-based calendar inside FileMaker. So we're leveraging CSS and JavaScript within FileMaker to give a new depth of interactivity.
Good. Here's a question from Greg. It's a really good question. It's, does your solution work on Android, so non-iOS platforms or devices?
Yes. Android, and even recently with FileMaker 14, it's very nice because with the web direct, you could have interface which are working on non-Apple products. So Android could have, an Android user could enter time, could do client follow-up, so they could use that as a kind of web interface.
Okay. Let's see. Here's a question from Alan. The question is, in the time tracking area, can you assign specific tasks, estimated time to complete versus just a whole project? So, for instance, pre-press takes 5 out of the 20 assigned hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question because this is very the heart of Frontiva, because every task, when you put in the quote, has been transferred to project or production. In these tasks, you could track individually how much time you're going to assign for production, for pre-press, design, in every step, so you can time track against every task in Frontiva. This is good because you can check if the project is going to go overtime before it's done. If you have 5 tasks and you're at the second one and you're already pretty overtime, that gives you time to readjust. And when you're looking to a previous project, or you do a duplicate of old project, you can say, hey, we had a problem here at design. We get too many changes from the client after approval. Let's check this for next time. So you can readjust really easily with specific details. It's easy.
Good. Thanks again, Nicholas. Let's see. Here's a question from Mr. Crooks. He's asking, we're looking to manage internal projects rather than sales to outside client contacts. Do you have examples of companies or maybe yourself that use this for your internal projects? Any insight to that, Nicholas?
Yeah, this question is very, very large because You mean like something you would use for internal projects, not just... let me answer this in two different perspectives. First, internal projects, we work with organizations that they don't even bill. They do time tracking, or sometimes they don't even do time tracking. They do project management for their own advertising project, their own internal project. But they still need to organize all the steps, organize the team, organize the calendar, and they would use Frontiva for their internal project. Not even, sometimes we just even remove the billing part of Frontiva so they can really focus on project management for their own internal projects. Like, this is really good for, let's say, communication department within a big structure, and they need to work with suppliers. They still need to control cost, but they don't necessarily need to bill outside clients.
Got it. Okay.
Does that answer your the question?
I think so. I haven't got any follow-up on that. I think you answered that perfectly. Again, we can bring some of this out with one-on-one discussions outside of this.
Excellent.
Here's a good question from Mark Wells. He's asking, is this a cloud-based solution? Does it reside on a local computer server, or can it work in both setups?
Yeah, I can work on both setups. Especially now with FileMaker, there's been so many great opportunities to have this application Frontiva on a cloud. So it's been outside servers, so you don't need to worry about whatever backups and things like that. So we have partners that they host Frontiva, and for the client part, either you're using different interface or a classic like FileMaker Pro install, or you could simply have a web interface for specific tasks. So today, with today's technology, you can really leverage pretty much any kind of setup.
Good. Time for a couple more questions. Here's a really, really good question. How can you integrate to other software or databases? The specific question was, how do you integrate to QuickBooks? But bigger picture, can you work with any other data sources?
Yeah, actually, I like the question about QuickBooks, because this is a really common question. People love to integrate Frontiva with Sage, Simply Accounting, QuickBooks, other accounting software, because then they use the best of both worlds. They use accounting software that accounting knows, or sometimes it's the IT, like they're going to use SAP or other software. They really they don't want to change that, so Frontiva can integrate. I won't go in technical details, but there's so many ways to do bridge, and we've done, since 15 years, we've done so many bridge using web services. We've done using ODBC and all kind of technology that makes the bridge very easy and seamless.
Okay. Two more questions, Nicholas. The question was, I have an environment of Macs and PCs. How would it work for me?
Yeah, that's great, and that's interesting because FileMaker is very, very great at working on both platforms. And with today's technology, you can have other platforms like iOS and iPad, iPhone, and web. But it works very, very nice in both PC and Mac. So you could have people entering data and share that very seamlessly across the network. Either you're working on a Mac and a PC. So same icon, same look and feel, same easy-to-use interface in any platform.
Good.
And I think that really the goal is to save time. So you don't want to copy-paste anything. You want everything to be connected for everybody in the team.
Very true. So here's the last question, and it's a good question. What kind of security is available? And I guess this could mean two things. Security in the logging in, will you have visibility depending on your rank? And security is, what security is set up within the solution itself.
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, there's security based in Frontiva, and there's some base in FileMaker. And when you leverage both levels of security, you get something very, very strong. I'm talking about encryption. We're talking about user profile, and we can connect to existing security model like Active Directory. Somebody has already set up, we can just link Frontiva with an existing setup. We have some clients like banks using Frontiva for their own tracking of projects. So we enjoyed the process because we had to do a lot of testing, and show them how Frontiva was secure, at the same time how FileMaker was secure. So it was a very nice process, and so the conclusion is that it's very, very, very secure.
Good. Well, thank you for going through those questions. There's quite a few of you that ask specific business questions to your specific business, and I think I'll be forwarding, or I know I'll be forwarding these over to Nick, so he can answer them more in a direct way. So a couple things with next steps, things to expect. You'll a call from one of us within the next 7 business days. If you have any immediate questions, please reach out to Nick. I'll have his contact information up shortly. And if you do want to get into a trial session, reach out to Frontiva. Please reach out to Nicholas at the end of this. But you'll be hearing from one of us in the next 7 days.